So one thing about Rachel Zegler is that we know that she is still on the damage control train. She will do whatever she has to do to protect this movie at all costs, even if it involves calling out Gal Gadot. We have a lot to talk about today when it comes down to the overall grudge between these two actresses.
People are assuming that Rachel and Gal did not get along because obviously Rachel has promoted Free Palestine. Gal obviously is Israeli and is Jewish.
Rumors of bad blood over Rachel Zegler's anti-Israel comments.
Co-stars? Sure. Friends? Not even close.
Rachel Zegler, yet again, really getting very defensive, not just against the critics, but also against her quote-unquote co-stars, including Gal Gadot.
Rachel Zegler is not doing anything to silence all of those reports, rumors, and online chatter that she and Gal Gadot are beefy.
Basically, not once did they really ever seem friendly or really acknowledge each other.
The reason we had Rachel Zegler on the docket is she's an asshole.
I don't need your business.
What an idiot I've been as a young person in this industry who has no filter and no idea what she's doing.
We hate the diversity, equity, and inclusion casting and writing in movies.
And I get it, there's a difference between spoiling and whatever, but to go out and badmouth everybody and talk smack.
Rachel Zegler is still doubling down on damage control for Snow White and is already beginning to attack her co-star Gal Gadot in the most embarrassing way possible.
There has definitely been tension between Snow White leading ladies Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler, and they're, quote, not close by any means.
Gal Gadot, whatever.
Gadot.
I mean, what?
Yeah.
Wow.
She's Jewish, and apparently this actually, all hell broke loose. Gal started getting threats.
Rachel Zegler, again, we know that she is going to do whatever she has to do to, either indirectly or somewhat even directly now attack Gal Gadot.
I think it's fair to say that no one can stand the star of this movie.
There were definitely some clues at the scaled-back No Reporters Allowed premiere. They posed separately, and Disney released just this one smiling pic that did its best to convey a message of no controversy here.
And now, with another what seems like PR stunt to desperately try to convince people that these two are in it together, it seems to have backfired.
She's trying to make herself as a better actress than Gal Gadot. That's really what it sounds like to me. I don't know about you guys. She keeps calling her incompetent, unprofessional, bringing on personal problems on set.
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
I did not like Snow White. The reason why is that the actress that plays Snow White, she acts like a all the time.
I don't need your business.
I don't think they're gonna buy it. I don't think they're gonna watch it. I don't think they're gonna like it.
Laughing stock of an entire industry. This is what narcissism looks like. Narcissism for 200.
They had her tweet out like a little, yay, Snow White, can't wait, so excited, I love to play her. And she did it and got like millions of views, and they were like, good job, Rachel. And then she, like, minutes later, followed it up with, and never forget, Free Palestine.
Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot didn't even look at each other while presenting at Oscars amid feud. And this is them walking out, and Rachel Zegler walks out looking like a giraffe that just learned how to walk with her arms flailing around. I don't know exactly what this was.
She thinks she should get paid more because she has to wear that dress. She should get paid for streaming for every hour she has to wear the dress. I mean, talk about biting the hand that feeds you. Not only are you being casted in a classic film to remake it, but you don't seemingly like your own character. So she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
What did you think was going to happen when you chose specifically this actress for the job?
I don't need your business.
This is someone who is as entitled as, I don't need your business.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business.
You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it. You didn't direct it. You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White. Right. You should shut up and do the job.
So yeah, I think there is a lot of bad blood, specifically between her and her.
Look at me, sure. Look at me, sure.
I am the Snow White now.
Weird.
I know some people like this movie. Some people are stupid. Oops! Oops!
Welcome back to Tea Time with Tina.
Hollywood's cooked up a scandal so outrageous, it feels like a rejected parody script. Leading the charge in this Tinseltown train wreck is none other than Rachel No-Brain Zegler, once dubbed Disney's nightmare, now rebranded as the loudest finger pointer on the planet.
She's also just a spoiled, entitled, narcissistic brat.
She's on a full-blown warpath, pointing fingers at her co-star Gal Gadot for the box office disaster that was Snow White. But wait, there's more. Word on the street is she's also throwing shade at Gadot's acting skills, which is rich, coming from someone who helped steer the whole project straight into the Flop Hall of Fame. After all, both of them were front and center in one of Disney's most embarrassing failures in recent memory.
Zegler delivered the following, and looking back at the presentation of the Evil Queen, there really needed some work there, and actresses need to understand that this is usually a common result of incompetence and a lack of creativity and focus. You have to actually have all the above to be an astounding actress, especially if you're going to portray someone like the Evil Queen.
So, what's really going on here? Has Rachel Zegler completely gone off the rails? Or, plot twist, are Disney execs quietly orchestrating one massive public meltdown to distract us from their bigger behind-the-scenes disasters? And in the middle of this chaos, how does Gal Gadot, real-life Wonder Woman, manage to walk away smelling like roses? But before we spill all the tea, don't forget to like and subscribe, because let's be real, I'm nothing without your support. Now, back to the drama. Let's kick things off with a fact so glaring, even the suits in Burbank can't ignore it. Snow White bombed, and not just a little. We're talking full-on, fiery train wreck, the kind of catastrophic flop that would make a seasoned indie filmmaker clutch their pearls. According to insider whispers, the box office numbers were so abysmal, the movie didn't walk. It limped into streaming, shedding tears of shame instead of tossing confetti.
I just feel like she has this intense hatred for the material that she's working with. She calls it weird.
We know that they are in full-on frantic mode as we speak because Bob Iger, the board of directors, the many executives over there, they are seeing the negative press.
Nothing has brought me greater joy than watching the Walt Disney Company absolutely panic over the last few weeks.
If Disney wants to make more woke films that tank at the box office, they are more than welcome to do that, but maybe think of an original idea. Maybe not destroy a classic from my...
So, how did a beloved fairy tale, backed by the mighty House of Mouse, end up as the cinematic equivalent of burnt microwave popcorn? Sure, you could chalk it up to bad marketing, a messy script, or direction that couldn't find its footing. Typical industry excuses. But if you ask Rachel Zegler, the blame lies squarely with Gal Gadot. That's right. According to Rachel, Gal was so impossible to work with, she single-handedly tanked the film's chances. Zegler's pointing fingers faster than a broken confetti cannon at a New Year's party. It's like she's on a personal crusade to pin this box office disaster on anyone but herself.
Zegler delivered the following. That was another challenge that we had with this production, is that when your co-star is another actress, one tends to lecture the other, and that can just be a distraction to really capture the spirit of Snow White and the Evil Queen. But there was just a lot of incompetence there. I mean, more often than not, and things could have seriously been more organized to have a more steady production.
Disney's official response? Utter panic. Word is they rushed Snow White to a digital release on May 13th, desperately hoping to scrape together a few coins from the streaming couch cushions. But let's be honest, giving audiences an early look might have backfired. Instead of salvaging the wreck, it just confirmed the rumors. Some viewers have already dubbed it the blandest Disney reboot to date, with at least half the blame landing squarely on Rachel Zegler's, shall we say, a questionable performance, made worse by a string of eyebrow-raising interviews that did her no favors.
Cast a guy in the movie, Andrew Burnap, great dude. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut, who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. It's Hollywood, baby. It's Hollywood, baby. So we didn't do that this time.
But Disney's not going down alone. They're frantically trying to deflect blame, possibly toward marketing budgets or unforeseen challenges. Meanwhile, rumors swirl that they're quietly taking Rachel's face off future merchandise faster than you can. Say Snow White, who the meltdown is so complete, you can practically hear Mickey Mouse weeping in the distance. If you thought the box office meltdown was entertaining, just wait until you hear how Rachel Zegler's been handling the aftermath. According to some of the juicier industry gossip, Zegler's embarked on what insiders are calling an extended damage control tour. The twist? The only thing she's managing to damage is her own reputation.
Now, one thing that is already universally known at this point by the general public is the fact that Disney is in full-on damage control.
She's been telling anyone who'll listen that Gal Gadot was an unstoppable storm of negativity on set, going so far as to suggest that Gadot can't act, and dragged a whole truckload of incompetence into the production.
I mean, let me just say this was a tough production for me. As someone who holds this talent and truly understands acting, I really had to push myself through some serious obstacles. And a lot of that has to do with my co-star, when we really didn't see eye to eye on certain things creatively. I just think that we could have done so much more with this film, and looking back at the presentation of the Evil Queen, there really needed some work there. And actresses need to understand that this is usually a common result of incompetence and a lack of creativity and focus.
Yes, you heard that right. Rachel Zegler has apparently crowned herself the ultimate judge of elite acting talent. Never mind that Gal Gadot is internationally adored for her role as Wonder Woman and backed by a global fan base. In Zegler's version of events, Gadot practically sabotaged every scene she was in. But here's the twist. Several people from the production have quietly come forward, hinting that it was actually Zegler who treated the set like she was starring in an Oscar bait art house drama, while everyone else was trying to make a lighthearted Disney family film. In other words, she may have been the one throwing the entire production off track by taking things way too seriously. And yet somehow, she's still convinced the whole disaster is Gal Gadot's fault. Because, well, Zegler says so. If this blame game had a scoreboard, Rachel would be leading by about 50 accusations and counting.
So one major aspect about why there's a lot of growing issues between Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler is that we know that they have a lot of personal problems with each other. We know that there's a lot of politics driven in between there, as well as other personal issues that really rise when it came to creative differences behind the scenes, and also in the public eye they had a lot of problems.
One major factor behind the growing tension between Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler is their increasingly strained personal relationship. It's no secret that the two have clashed behind the scenes, with a mix of personal issues and political differences, fueling the fire. Creative disagreements only made things worse, spilling from the set into the public eye. What started as professional friction quickly turned into a full-blown feud, with both sides reportedly having more than a few issues with each other.
Disney's Snow White remake has become the company's worst nightmare. The film has reached a humiliating new low, sealing its place as the worst-rated Disney release of the decade.
And the best part? She's done it all with the smug confidence of someone declaring, "I'm the real professional here." Essentially telling Gal Gadot to step aside for a newcomer who's barely made a dent in Hollywood. Bold move, to say the least. Some might call it the PR equivalent of playing with fireworks in a match factory. Disney insiders, they're reportedly shaking their heads, quietly wishing Zegler would just zip it so they can start damage controlling this mess into a faint, distant memory. Now let's talk about the mood at Disney HQ. You've got to imagine the usual cheery Be Our Guest vibe has been replaced with something more like, what in the world just happened? This Snow White meltdown wasn't supposed to be this catastrophic. Sure, reboots catch flack all the time, but this might just take home the gold medal in the Flop Olympics.
Rachel Zegler and her behavior. And if it was just one comment, it probably would have been forgotten by now. But it was comment after comment, and it was pissing off everybody, pissing off old Disney fans, pissing off new Disney fans, pissing off Trump supporters, pissing off all of America. And it became such a disaster that they had to shut her up, which was the smartest move they made.
In classic Disney fashion, the leadership immediately jumped into crisis mode. Rumor has it they held endless meetings trying to figure out how to manage the Zegler fiasco. Reports say they even tossed around ideas like enrolling her in PR training. Or, more bluntly, duct taping her mouth shut. Anything to stop her from causing more chaos and stepping on even more toes.
They want nothing to do with Rachel Zegler in any of her projects. We already discussed this. She was supposed to be involved as a voiceover actress for, Toy Story 5. She was supposed to be one of the side characters in the upcoming Pirates of the Caribbean remake. About that, I am very much putting this on the table right now that there's a high chance that this is going to also get canceled.
In the end, it seems Disney decided to cut their losses and let her go from future projects. That means no cameo voice roles in Toy Story 5's, no surprise appearances in the rumored Pirates of the Caribbean reboot, not even a background spot as a singing teapot. Absolutely zilch.
Critics saying Disney's too woke, but you're just putting out storytelling.
We are. Look, I don't really like the term woke because I think it's an umbrella term that I'm not 100% sure I even know what it means.
That's a tough hit for any rising actress. But once you land on Disney's blacklist, the rest of Hollywood takes notice, and fast. Some say the House of Mouse can get pretty petty. If you become persona non grata with them, you might as well start auditioning for community theater in the middle of nowhere. But after Zegler's repeated digs at Gal Gadot, and by extension, Disney's entire PR machine, there's probably no happily ever after left in that relationship. Meanwhile, Disney is also facing backlash from fans questioning the creative direction of their live-action remakes. Honestly, isn't it time they seriously consider retiring these dusty reboots for good?
Every Disney movie has now flipped over into just being a woke festival of stupid.
So hopefully this flops so hard that they finally learn their lesson.
Either way, the bottom line is clear. Zegler's once bright career is careening downhill like a roller coaster stuck on a bad streak. Meanwhile, Disney is probably crossing their fingers, hoping the public forgets or just moves on to the next scandal. But knowing the internet, they might not be so lucky. Now, let's talk about the showdown. Rachel Zegler versus Gal Gadot. It's like one of those mismatched wrestling matches where the rookie storms into the ring shouting, "I'm the real champion," only for the reigning champ to raise a bored eyebrow and effortlessly crush them. What's truly wild is that Zegler's snide comments about Gadot's acting have done far more damage to her own credibility than to Gadot's. Why? Because the public actually likes Gal Gadot. She's got the charm, the star power, and, most importantly, keeps her drama off camera. Zegler, on the other hand, she's practically self-destructing in full view, openly blaming a co-star who isn't even bothering to fight back.
It's the one improvement that I think my co-stars should embrace with other films that they work on in this industry. This is something that I understand, this is something that I value. You have to understand the character, and when you are not into success, it drags you down with others that just don't want to act professionally by bringing in personal issues on set. This is not the best way to handle a major film production, so I think going into other projects, I have learned to really observe whether or not this is the best cast for me when looking for other roles or offers that I get. We had many disagreements, for sure, with this film.
Insiders say that on set, Rachel Zegler was laser-focused on turning Snow White into a cutting-edge, socially conscious epic, while Gal Gadot was content delivering a fun, campy take on the evil queen. Seriously, are we really going to pretend? This movie flopped because Gadot dared to bring a whimsical villain vibe to a story about dwarfs and a talking mirror. At this point, Zegler's scapegoating is so intense, she might as well be handing out "I Blame Gal" t-shirts on every talk show. Naturally, this public meltdown has become front-page spectacle for the media and fans alike, who are firing off questions non-stop. Did Rachel really say those things about Gal? Is she reading from some secret diary of envy and desperation? And what kind of meltdown tea are Disney execs guzzling behind closed doors to deal with this mess? As usual, mainstream outlets are tiptoeing around the story. Nobody wants to provoke the Disney beast, given the studio's power and influence. But the rumor mill won't quit. Some speculate Disney may have quietly leaked some details to paint Zegler as the villain, though honestly, she's doing a fine job on her own, helping them bury any criticism of their creative choices. Others argue that Zegler handed Disney all the ammunition with no help needed. Meanwhile, those with a sense of humor can't help but laugh at the spectacle. A fairy tale movie meant to teach life lessons, now overshadowed by petty finger-pointing and corporate chaos. The whole fiasco is way more entertaining than the movie itself, if you're into cringe comedy, that is. For Disney, this is a PR nightmare, adding fuel to the ongoing debate about whether live-action remakes are just a waste of time and money. After all, if the film can't stand on its own, do we really need a star who spends more time deflecting blame than delivering performances? So, where does Rachel Zegler go from here? According to the harsher rumors, she's already halfway, down a rabbit hole of obscurity, with Disney eager to cut her off from any future projects that could benefit from brand synergy. Remember when she was supposed to voice a character in Toy Story 5? Yeah, me neither. It's like her name got Thanos snapped out of that conversation. Same goes for any cameos in the Pirates of the Caribbean reboot. Now, her only attachment is some small indie flick that might open in a handful of theaters, and a drive-in somewhere in the Midwest. A huge step down from Disney stardom. Of course, Hollywood loves a good redemption arc. Maybe Zegler can turn things around if she stops publicly picking fights with more established stars. But that would require a level of restraint she hasn't shown yet. On the bright side, if she lands an edgy indie role and wins some festival acclaim, she could have a comeback story even bigger than this meltdown. Stranger things have happened. For now, though, it's safe to say major studios are probably giving her agent the cold shoulder. Hollywood hates actors who stir up drama that overshadows the work. When you diss someone as universally liked, even if not the best actress ever, like Gadot, it signals a lack of humility and raises big red flags. So, there you have it, a calamitous comedic train wreck starring Rachel Zegler as the queen of self-sabotage, Disney as the hapless studio caught in the chaos, and Gal Gadot as the innocent bystander who, according to Zegler, can't act. Script writes itself, and we're watching it unfold in real time. Where does this leave us? Disney is limping away from a major flop, licking its wounds and probably swearing off mentioning Zegler's name in any future marketing. Meanwhile, Rachel is wielding a metaphorical sledgehammer to her own public image, smashing her reputation to bits while ironically claiming the moral high ground. Fans and critics watch with popcorn in hand, entertained by a fiasco that's probably more fun than any behind-the-scenes documentary Disney could produce. And poor Gal Gadot, if she's even aware of the drama, she's likely too busy diving into new roles and counting her paychecks. With Zegler's meltdown hogging all the negative headlines, Gadot barely has to lift a finger to come out smelling like roses. Sometimes the best move is no move at all. Is there a grand conspiracy here? A media cover-up protecting Disney, or silencing Zegler's side? Possibly. A smear campaign orchestrated by studio execs? Maybe. Or is this just another chapter in Hollywood's endless saga of stars who blow up their own careers by pointing fingers when things go wrong? Absolutely. But the real moral of this twisted fairy tale? If your movie flops like a fish out of water, maybe don't publicly call out your co-star's talent, especially if that co-star is beloved by millions. Chances are, you'll just come off as petty. And if you're Disney, maybe it's time to stop recycling the same old classics and expecting audiences to keep handing over their wallets. Who knows what's next? Maybe a scathing behind-the-scenes video or a leaked memo from Disney's top brass begging everyone to hush about the meltdown. This story might still have more wild twists ahead. If you're craving more drama, you're in the right place. Because as long as Rachel Zegler has a social media account and a need to vent, we're bound to see more fireworks. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Snow White fiasco, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. One thing's for sure, Hollywood drama never sleeps, and neither do we. See you next time for another wild ride through Tinseltown, where blaming everyone else is the new normal and self-awareness is in short supply. Until then, stay tuned, stay safe, and stay informed. Only on Tea Time with Tina.